All right, well, we'll get rolling then. Guess we'll start. We had a regional drug network that was thwarted by VicPD. VicPD concluded a month-long drug investigation Friday morning with the execution of 3 simultaneous search warrants throughout the region. 5 drug traffickers from Victoria and the West Shore were also arrested in this operation. Victoria Police Strike Force and Street Crime Units and the Greater Victoria Emergency Response Team executed a search warrant in the 1400 block of Finlayson Place, where 2 28-year-old men and a 60-year-old Victoria man were arrested. Another warrant was executed at a residence in the 2700 block of Gosworth Place, where a 22-year-old Victoria female was arrested. The third warrant was from the West Shore RCMP, who assisted in our investigation by executing a warrant in the 1100 block of Goldstream Avenue in Langford. In that residence, a 28-year-old man was also arrested, all connected to this file. Both the Strike Force and Street Crime Units conducted extensive searches and located evidence of marijuana grow operations and cash, amongst other items, in all 3 residences. They'll now spend time cataloging the evidence and preparing charges against these 5 individuals. Now, VicPD officers were particularly proud of this investigation as it had an immediate effect on the community. As the search warrants were being completed, members of the community started to approach our officers, thanking them for their work and for making their neighborhood a safer place. All 5 suspects were released from custody, and VicPD suspects to recommend a number of charges against them, including production of a scheduled substance and possession of a scheduled substance for the purpose of trafficking. In response to the next question, the 2 28-year-old Victoria men were known to police. The female, the West Shore male, and the 60-year-old male were not known to police.
Are any of them related? Like familiar? I mean, father, son?
Don't believe so. I'd have to double check for you, Lisa.
And in one of these residences, did you find it grow off, or was it in all of these residences?
It was evidence compiled through all 3 of them. So there was evidence of grow operation in one of the houses, but all 3 were tied into the operation.
And sorry, did you say was this a special group of investigators who were on this?
No, this was our Strike Force section and our Street Crime Units. They work together for operations just as this all the time. But this one being 3 search warrants, different jurisdictions, including the RCMP, certainly was a bigger project for them.
So were there any actual plants being cultivated in any free homes, or were they all street-ready drugs?
I don't know what the status was of if the grow up was actually ready for harvest or ready for anything to go. That's not through yet. So the officers are back all week, going to be working on cataloging all the evidence and getting everything through for charge approval.
Can you give us a rough estimate of how much quantity of drugs?
I don't have that yet.
Or the cash?
Or the cash, no.
Was this like a months-long investigation?
It was a month-long investigation, yeah. I don't know if there was any plans ready to go, but I do know that about approximately 5 pounds of marijuana was seized. So,
is that medium, low end, or?
Tough to say, depending on the size of the operation, where that would fall. But yeah, 5 pounds is a fair bit of marijuana.
Now, you say that people came up to thank the officers. Had they been aware that there was something suspicious going on?
It certainly gives the impression of that, yes, that they were coming out, as we were there, giving the indication that they knew something was up. But I don't know what information, if any, we did receive from the community. I haven't been able to talk to the officers specific about that.
But it wasn't like the police were telling me, here, this is what we're doing. It was more like they
No.
had an idea that there was something
Yeah,
going on.
they knew, yeah.
And sorry, you may have said, it just went right past me, did we find anything else concerning in the Victoria residences, such as weapons or other types of drugs? Or
Nothing of note.
Do we anticipate additional charges related?
It depends once they're done cataloging all the evidence and seeing what charges are going to be laid against who. We should have an update on that later in the week.
So was this, were they actively going out and selling the drugs, or were they middlemen? What was their role in this drug op?
No, the indication is that they were producing it and that they were active in selling it around the capital region as well.
So what was it, like, it wasn't like a dial-a-dope operation, like they would go on the street and,
I don't know what the operation was set up for yet. We do know that they were growing it, we do know that they were selling it, but the details of how that was going about, I don't know.
and was it surveillance that you got onto them from downtown area, or how did you get started?
I know it was information that our officers had received through various different sources, be it, I don't know if it was the community specifically, but they did get information about that.
Can you say if neighbors ever called to complain that they thought there was a drug?
I don't know for sure, no.
And are these rental houses?
I don't know what the status is of all of them, but the one on Finlayson is not its own. I know that for sure.
Is it going to make an operating sometime?
I'd imagine with anything that's sort of this scale, it's going to have gone on for a while. All right. VicPD is investigating an attempted robbery. VicPD officers let's try that again. VicPD officers are investigating an early morning attempted robbery that took place at the 7-Eleven convenience store in the 800 block of Douglas Street. A 911 call was placed to VicPD just before 3 a.m. by a store employee after a man walked into the convenience store brandishing a knife and demanding cash. The suspect, however, left empty-handed and ran out the door, southbound on Douglas Street. Numerous officers attended, including the K-9, but the suspect was not found. Several pieces of forensic evidence were located at the scene, and our officers are now following up with the forensic identification services. The suspect is described as a white man with blonde hair and blue eyes. He is wearing a black mask over his face with a black jacket and bags over his shoes. He's described as average build, between 5'11" and 6 foot. If anybody has any information regarding this incident, they're asked to contact VicPD at our non-emergency line of 250-995-7654 or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS. 8477.
What was the date of this?
It's this morning. Okay.
Do you see bags on his shoes?
Yes,
Can you elaborate on
plastic bags over his shoes.
that? Like grocery bags?
I would assume so, but I don't know specifically.
Any theories on it?
No. Apparently there's some over there, though. All right. And we do have some guests today, other than Deputy Chief John Ducker, who's always here. We in December, VicPD held an inspector competition for the appointment of our newest senior managers. 2 inspector positions came open after resignations by Daryl McLean and Les Sylvan. Both of these promotions became effective on December 16th after an internal competition. The 2 successful candidates, Penny Durant and Keith Lidner. Now that the holidays have passed, we wanted to formally introduce both to the media. So Inspector Penny Durant has been a member of VicPD for 21 years. She has worked in a wide range of sections, including the bike section. She was Youth Outreach Officer, Special Victims Unit, Operational Support, Human Resources, and as a watch commander, and most recently as the acting inspector in charge of patrol services. She was an original member of the Tour de Rock bike team and has continued to be involved with new riders for the past 11 years. She's also been an active volunteer with the BC SPCA and Wild Ark, the Animal Rehabilitation Center. Penny has also completed many police and fire games and has won gold medals in mountain biking, road racing, and arm wrestling. In 2003, she was awarded the Lieutenant Governor Award, and last year she received her 20-year Exemplary Service Award. Inspector Keith Lidner has been policing for 26 years. He started with the Calgary Police and has been a member of VicPD since 1990. He has worked in patrol, drug crimes, professional standards, major crimes, as a watch commander, and part of the emergency response team. He was the first sergeant assigned to the Vancouver Island Integrated Major Crime Unit when the homicide unit was created in 2007. Keith is an accredited team commander who has handled many major case investigations. Keith was most recently the acting inspector for West Division, and he has been president of the Victoria Police Athletic Association since 1998 and is heavily involved in community activities for the department. Last year, Keith also received his 20-year Exemplary Service Award. He's married and has 3 children. Both Keith and Penny will be here to answer any questions specific to their new appointments.
It's Inspector Durant now, is that?
Yes,
Okay, were you sergeant before?
Staff Sergeant.
Staff sergeant, okay. So is there a specific task that you've been assigned to now as inspector?
I'm the officer in charge of the patrol division and also our jail.
Okay. So what is the patrol, what are your duties with regard to the patrol division?
Well, I oversee the patrol division, which is around 100 officers. So that is our primary response unit. So it's the patrol members that work the 2 days, 2 nights. There's 4 different shifts, and we have staff sergeants, sergeants, and constables. As well, we also have our jail, which is overseen by the sergeants in the jail, and we also have a number of jailers that work down there. So I oversee those operations.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think it was that sort of got you your position? Was it an idea you had, or was it, do you think, makes you the right person for the job?
I feel like I'm going through my interview again. Well, it was, I've gone through the ranks here. I've started with Victoria and then moved through in 21 years, and I've always enjoyed working here. It's, I think it's just a natural progression to go through the different stages, the different ranks, and I really want to contribute to the organization further, so I felt that I would apply, and I'm really glad that I did.
Are you one of the first women in this position, do you know?
There's been 2 other female inspectors in the past, Inspector Corey Bond and Phyllis Sine. So currently I'm the one there now, so they've since retired.
And what about other women in the department? Do you think that they see you as a role model?
I would hope so. I know that there are other women of rank currently, and there's more coming up through the ranks. And we now have probably, I believe it's close to 20% of females in the organization. So just a matter of a couple of years before more move up and continue in the organization. So.
And do you feel that you are sort of like on an equal footing with your male counterparts, that they, are willing and able to work along?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, we all get along very well, and I've known most of them for certainly 20 years now at least.
Is there any portion of the patrol division where you see improvements or enhancements? I know that there's a lot of challenges in the 900 block of Pandora, but there's obviously challenges with drug crimes, and obviously the challenge of the other regions' problems kind of coming to the downtown core, whether to party or to do crime. Where do you see sort of the patrol level focusing on that and kind of improving the downtown core?
Well, the primary goal of patrol is obviously the reactive calls. So we deal with everything from domestics to fights to the problems with the bars and whatnot. We're also supplemented by the focus enforcement team that deals with a lot of those downtown issues. But I would say our focus is addressing the ongoing sort of issues, and we work with our operations council and we work together to deal with a number of different issues. So it's partly reactive, but also being very proactive in different issues that come up to obviously lessen the call load and be more efficient in patrol. So, and it is a very high call load because of the other people coming in from other areas. So it's just, it's ongoing. So yeah, very a lot of good work going on. And
I'd like Inspector Grant just asking, what will your new duties be?
Currently, I'm the OIC of the West Division, which was Daryl McLean, retired in October of this past year. So I've been out there as the actor since that date. And when we were confirmed in December, the chief told me that I'd be remaining in West Division as the OIC.
What do you see are the greatest challenges there?
Esquimalt. That's something I face on a daily basis. You got Aaron over there from news. It's an ongoing thing. I deal with the Esquimalt Council, if not daily, every other day. In fairness, they will welcome me with open arms out there. They really have. It's a different style of policing out there for me. Like Mike said, I policed in Calgary, which is a big city, policed in Victoria. So policing in Esquimalt, there are subtle differences out there. It's more community based, so it's a challenge.
So how does it work then with the officers, because we're all with one Victoria Police Department? Yep. Do different officers work, kind of for that area all the time, or are you always?
Depending, like Inspector Durant's in charge of the patrol division, so they have the 4 platoons, A, B, C, D. And whenever, I think today, D is on, Delta platoon's on, so they will have officers that are specifically assigned to the west. So they're assigned to a D platoon, but they're assigned to the west division. So as patrol officers, they'll work out of that division.
So do you, like, because you said policing is a little bit different out there, as the inspector, as a person, you kind of taking care of that area, do you kind of have to debrief officers as to, how things are doing?
No, I don't think so, Lisa. I think that police officers are police officers, right? They're good at dealing with people. They're good at talking to people. And that's the luxury that I'm afforded in the West Division. I have that time. I can get out and talk to people in the plaza. I can get out and talk to people, at the rec center. Whereas downtown, it's far more hectic in the downtown core than I would say than the West Division.
So how much of your job is sort of diplomacy?
I think it's a part of every police officer's job, but yeah, it's part of everything we do every day.
Are there any challenges with having that position, considering the sort of political negotiations that are going on around whether VicPD is still going to police Esquimalt and whether the people of Esquimalt or the council even wants VicPD there?
I think that it's the elephant in the room, Katie. It is what it is. I've had very frank discussions with the mayor, with the council and the directors, and I've told them right up front, I'm not a politician, I'm a police officer. And they understand that. I believe they respect that. So I'm there to do a policing job.
Like I said, you've been involved in all kinds of different investigations and different issues and things like that. What was the most, challenging or interesting for you of all the things you've done in your career so far?
Everyone's different, so that's the nice thing about policing. You can go to the same type of call 100 times, but it's different because you have different people involved. So because there's different personalities involved, there's different dynamics, and it just changes it. They all have their upsides and they all have their downsides.
Is there anything you'll miss from, that now that you're an inspector that you won't be doing anymore?
No deputy?
No, he's being very modest here, Lisa. He has handled some of the highest profile murder investigations on this island in his role in INSU, and he might just talk a bit about some of those things. I know some of them aren't before the courts yet, but he has forgotten more about murders than most of us will ever know in this department. He's not doing himself justice here.
Thanks.
Can you tell us which files you directly worked on?
Well, from 2007 to 2010, any homicide that happened on Vancouver Island, I was probably involved directly or indirectly. Any police shooting, I was involved in. Any in-custody death, I was involved in, so it's a fair number.
Mm-hmm. Any, like, of the homicides that you worked on, obviously there was the high-profile Kimberly Proctor murder, but was that the one that any that affected you, or any investigations that sort of stood out as being the most challenging?
I was only in Proctor. I was only involved in the periphery. Then Staff Sergeant in charge asked me to come in and just to look at the scene and look at a few things for him, just to give him my opinion. At the time, I was up island working on a triple homicide for the RCMP, but they're all unique. They all have challenges, and in that role, you're dealing with survivors. You're dealing with family. Probably the toughest one I dealt with recently that has nothing to do with me as an investigator was Tyler Noble's death. I knew the boy. I coached him. He was a friend with my kids. And I was the duty officer who got the call. So whenever you attach a personal element to it, when you see the father and he breaks down, and you break down with him, right? So as a police officer, you sort of try and keep that separate from your job, but there's times when you can't. So those ones are tough. Any crime involving a child or someone who's a true victim, those are tough.
But also add the Keith is also the officer in charge of the investigation. So one of the challenges for the organization will be to transition him from that role to the officer in charge in the Esquimalt, and we're working on that transition now.
And so who would take over the Michael Dunn?
We're working on that. There's a number of promotional competitions for sergeant and staff sergeant, or for inspector, sergeant, staff sergeant underway right now, and we haven't got through that yet.
The HR section's got up for posting, so.
Do you think you'll miss that, kind of leading the field aspect of policing?
Well, probably, Lisa. But everywhere you've gone, like, Inspector Duran talked about, when you move up the ladder, your job changes, but every job brings new challenges to it. You know, you're still dealing with the people, which is the funnest part of this job. So that won't change. You know, even if you're as the skinny belt behind a desk, you might have a bit of knowledge where one of the young guns comes and talks to you about something, you may be able to give him some insight or her some insight in that way. So, yeah, I will miss that part of it. As an incident commander, we'll be out dealing with those things from time to time, so.
What was the triple homicide of Island?
It's before the courts, still, yeah.
Okay.
Out of Campbell River, how's that for a good hand? There's 3 charges of first degree laid against an individual.